Hey, Grand Rising. So I wanted to come live really quick in the garden and talk about spirituality. And well, I want to talk about conscious living and the two aspects of that, which are the spiritual and the physical, the metaphysical and the physical, or you could say self-awareness and self-reliance. There's a lot of different ways to say it. But the whole point with conscious living is that you have to understand and embrace that the two are intermingled, that neither is separate from the other, and that you cannot have one without the other. And I say this because I remember waking up like the hard wake up, you know what I mean? And that was when my grandma was diagnosed with cancer. And I couldn't understand. Like, I had already awakened to the fact that black people were treated terrible in the United States, that Native Americans were treated like crap. Like, I was already hip to all of that. But just getting into government being screwed up, like to the extent that it is, and the food crisis and the products and all of that stuff. And when I started to learn that information, I didn't quite have a full perspective of self-awareness. You know what I mean? Like, I knew I was black, I knew I was woman, but I didn't know what I was. Like, I knew who, but not what in the sense of the physics of it, you know? So when I started to learn about the food crisis and about what they put in our products and how they actually know this shit is hurting us and they just don't care, I almost lost it. Like, I'm talking about, like, I was on anxiety medication. I was going to see a therapist. Like, I was out of here. I was sleeping in my car out front of my house. Like, it was really crazy. And all of that, and then through all of that, I learned about why they were doing it. And the why came to the pineal gland and manipulation of our consciousness. And that's when I started to learn what I am, and the physics of, you know, what matter is, and energy and quarks and ions and all of these things. And that's when I realized, oh, so they really don't have no power. It's just an illusion of power, and they do all of these things so that we can buy into the illusion. Okay, so what to do now? Okay, so let's get spiritually grounded. Let's get self-aware. Let's know what I am, my connection to everything, how that whole thing works. Okay, got it. Now let's transmute that into something physical. Let's turn that physical. And that's where, like, the garden came from, and learning to build self-sufficient homes and things of that nature, you know. So now I'm at the point where I have my garden, but there's still even metaphysical aspects of that when you sow your seeds based on whether they are a root crop or an above ground crop, and in relation to the lunar cycles. And then right now, that's what I really wanted to show you. I have sage that is burning. I have incense. Let me see if I can turn the camera around, which I don't believe I can. So I'm gonna have to do it this way and hope you can see. I have incense throughout the garden, and you probably can see, like, the little tips of smoke coming from different places. There are certainly crystals throughout the garden. Like I was telling you once, there is citrine over here. I have tiger's eye over there. It's a couple different crystals throughout the garden. I burn my sage. Can you see that? My sage in the garden. And it's to cleanse the energy, because there are other energies in the environment as well. Not to mention that this beautiful wildflower meadow behind me doesn't hurt at all. But yeah, it's just to clean the energy of the garden, to restore the peace, and make sure that I keep that negative ionic charge that nature naturally has, and that is not interrupted. It also helps to bring me some peace, you know. So even with gardening, there is a spiritual aspect, there is a metaphysical aspect, there is the aspect of understanding that all of these plants are beings, and they are aware of their being, and respecting that and flowing with that, and thanking them for bearing fruit for me to partake of. This is why I've tried to I'm trying to learn and get better at I'm trying to learn and get better at no-kill gardening, like being able to harvest without killing the plant. Yes?
I fix your chair.
Okay, thank you. Being able to harvest without killing the plant. My first practice with that being the potatoes, putting them in the bag and being able to actually harvest potatoes like we did yesterday without killing the actual plants. Yesterday we didn't do it without killing the plants because we didn't have a bag inside of the pot, but we do now. So moving forward, we'll be able to do that without harming the plants. And I have been doing it because I had potatoes in a smaller pot that I transplanted as well. But anyway, this whole point is that in conscious living, you cannot have one without the other. You cannot have the physical awareness without having the spiritual awareness, because everything before it becomes physical starts out metaphysical as a thought. You can't see a thought, you can't touch a thought until it's manifested and realized. You understand what I'm saying? So everything starts that way. If you are a person who wants whatever you want, let's say you want homesteading, right? Well, if you got your homestead tomorrow, how well would that go? How much do you know about homesteading? So you've made the choice, that's what you want, but you have to make a plan and then make moves. And making that plan doesn't mean, making the moves doesn't mean actually buying the land and building it. It's part of making the moves is learning what you need to know to accomplish these things. It's setting the vibe. It's getting in the right spiritual place so that you can then have the clarity to focus on what moves need to be made and actually have the clarity and the inner peace to make those moves. And this is why conscious living is self-awareness and self-reliance, and you cannot have one without the other. It pertains to gardening, it pertains to meditating. Like, let's say your mind is right for meditating, but your body's not. And your knees hurt when you try to sit, or you don't have the right body position. You see how it can't be one without the other. Well, you have a perfect, comfortable body position, but you have monkey mind. It has to be the two. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So that's what this video is all about. It's about explaining what conscious living is and showing you how I use it in my everyday life as a practice. It is a practice. It's not something that you look at, oh, that's cute, that's nice. No, you have to actually make a conscious effort in conscious living. That's the conscious part. I love you guys, and I hope that you're having a great day. I hope that this helps you in some way. Blessed be.